Hello and welcome to Mary Beth Yoga. Today we have a short sequence that peaks in plow pose. So if that pose is too intense, I'll offer some modifications once we get there. Let's begin by doing some bunny breathing. So bunny breathing is doing 3 short inhales followed by 1 long exhale. And we'll do that a few times together. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Let's do some sitting cat-cows to connect our breath with movement. On an inhale, we're going to lift our chest up, arch your back. For cow. And on an exhale, dive forward, rounding your back. For cat. Let's do a few more of these at your own pace. Inhale. As you look up. And exhale. As you round forward. Let's do one more. Inhale. And exhale. Now we're going to come to hands and knees to tabletop, and then we're going to push up into downward facing dog. So lift your hips up and back. You can walk out your legs here. Knees can be bent. The heels may or may not come to the floor. Next, we're going to move into a high lunge. So you're going to step your right foot forward between your hands. Okay, keeping your back heel lifted. Both toes are facing towards the front of the mat. You can either bring your hands all the way up or first come to your hips before lifting them up above your head. Your palms are facing each other, so making sure not to let your knee go past your toes. We're going to take a few breaths here. Then we're going to move into Warrior 2. So for Warrior 2, you can bring your hands together, prayer position at your chest, and then rotate towards the left side of your mat. Your back heel is now down. Your back foot, currently your left foot, is either parallel to the back of the mat or at a bit of an angle with the heel back. Your right front knee is bent. And then your hands come out parallel. The Warrior 2. We'll take a few breaths here. Now to move into triangle, we're going to straighten our front leg. We want to lengthen both sides of the torso evenly. So to do that, first we're going to jet our back hip back and then reach forward with the right hand. That way you're strengthening both sides of your torso and not collapsing in. Then lower your right hand, lift your left hand towards the sky or the ceiling. We'll take a few breaths here, and then we're going to move into a revolve triangle next. So for a revolve triangle, your left foot, your back foot, your heel's going to lift because your left hand is going to come down. Your heel's going to lift to replant with your toes oriented more towards the front edge of the mat. Your left hand can be either very close to your foot or a little further out, whichever is more comfortable and supportive for you. And then your right hand, you're twisting your torso towards the right, and your right hand lifts up towards the ceiling or sky. I'll take a few breaths here. And then we're going to move into pyramid. So for pyramid, your hand comes down, your right hand comes back down. You can shorten your stance if you'd like. Now we're orienting our hips towards the front edge of the mat. So make sure not to lock your knees. You want to keep your knees soft in both the front and the back leg. We're really stretching out our hamstrings here in this sequence. So for pyramid, first lift your chest forward like a halfway lift, and then fold at the hips rather than along the spine for your pyramid pose. Your hands can be either on the floor in front of you. You might want to put them up on blocks, or if you would really like a challenge, you can bring them up and put them behind your back. A few more breaths here. And then we're going to step back into downward dog. So you can bend the front knee and then walk your legs back, stepping back into downward dog. And you can probably feel the difference between your right leg and your left in terms of the looseness of the hamstrings. Now we're going to do that on the left side. So first, coming into your high lunge, bring your left foot forward between your hands. Remember that the right heel now is going to stay lifted, and hands come all the way up, feeling free to put them on your hips to help with the transition. We're going to stay here for 3 or 4 breaths. Next, we're moving into warrior 2. So hands can come together, back heel drops down, hips are open towards the right side of your mat, arms come out, left knee is bent, approaching a 90-degree angle. All right, now for triangle, straighten the left knee, jut your right hip towards the back of the room before reaching forward with the left hand, dropping the left hand down, bringing the right up into your triangle pose. We'll be here for a few breaths. And now for the revolve triangle, right hand comes down, left foot stays where it is, right foot readjusts. And once your right hand is planted, we'll revolve, coming into the revolve triangle. So we'll stay here for a few breaths. Moving into pyramid, left hand comes down, hips are oriented towards the front of the mat. Feel free to shorten the stance. First, extend the spine long, coming up into a halfway lift before folding forward. Remembering to fold from your hips rather than putting your spine in an awkward position. Remembering not to lock your knees. Couple more breaths here. Then step back into downward dog. Next, we're going to transition down to our back. So you can bring your knees down to the mats. briefly sit in an easy seat before laying all the way down. We're first going to do a bridge pose, and if plow, like I mentioned, if plow is more intense than you'd like to do today, feel free just to repeat this bridge when we move into plow. So first, your feet are flat on the ground, feet are about hip distance apart. We're going to lift our hips up, and then your arms can stay here, or you can interlace your fingers and shimmy the shoulder blades together, looking up either towards the ceiling or the sky. We'll stay here for a few breaths. Lower the hips down. Now we're going to move into plow. It's important in plow that you keep your neck and your head aligned, looking straight forward. So don't turn your head to the left or the right when you are in plow. That would put too much pressure on your cervical spine. So to move into plow, we're first going to bring our legs up. You can stay here in a shoulder stand, or all the way up and over, bringing your toes to the floor. And you feel a deep stretch along your mid to upper back. Feel free to come back out of this pose, rolling down whenever it feels too much. We're going to stay for a couple more breaths. Then we're going to roll down and move into a reclined butterfly. So, reclined butterfly, your feet come together, the soles of your feet come together, and your knees can drop out to either side. Now bring your knees back together. We're going to move into waterfall. Or if you're near a wall, you could do a legs up the wall pose. So for waterfall, you just lift your feet straight up. Feet are flexed. Feeling that shift in the typical pull of gravity on your legs. And if this isn't comfortable, you can just continue in the reclined butterfly. Next, we'll bring our feet back down. We're going to do a reclined figure four. So stretch your left foot out long. Your right knee comes in. Then we're going to cross our right ankle, bringing the left leg back up. The right ankle is in front of your knee, kind of resting on your left knee, or just closer to your body than your left knee. You weave your hand, your arm in between your legs, interlock your fingers, and you can pull back, feeling that nice release on the outside of your right hip. We're going to do 5 or 6 breaths here before we switch to the other side. Now let's change legs. So you can bring your feet down, briefly extend that right foot out. Left knee comes in, left ankle crosses over to the right knee, bringing that right leg back in with the knee bent. Hands interweave between the legs, fingers clasped together. And again, feeling that nice stretch and release in the outer left hip. Now release, and you can stretch all the way out for our final Shavasana. Legs extend long, palms up, arms relaxed by your sides. Feel free to stay here as long as you have time for today. We're going to be together about 8 or 10 breaths. Now bring some movement back into your fingers and toes. Roll over to your side and push yourself back up into an easy seat. Thank you for taking this time for yourself, and thank you for spending time here at Mary Beth Yoga. Namaste.